Well, obviously, when you reach the level we're at right now, opening statements are difficult because it seems you're saying the same things each and every week when you come up short. I think the game was a bit different. Um, and again, though, was a tale of inconsistencies. Very concerned that the penalties that occurred, concerned that we had some breakdowns in the kicking game. That's a little different than what we've had. I think the biggest thing for us at this point is putting all three phases together. When we've won games at Duke and played consistently well, we've been able to blend the kicking game, the defense, and the offense to where we effectively in 3 or 4 series put a game out of reach. Certainly when you're breaking down in those areas, and we've broken down a lot offensively, but when you're breaking down offensively or the kicking game or the defense, and where it kind of was in this one, when one got going, something else didn't hold up. And you have to look at the coach in that regard and evaluate what you're doing. I just told him on the radio, it's hard for me not to get really angry at myself, and I am. But at the same time, I can't lose my head. I have to be objective as we study this and see what we have to do. The one thing I can promise you, it's an unusual year. It's a unique circumstance. We're not going to stop working, and we're not going to run away from the problems. We're going to run right to them, and we will have fight in us to continue to prepare and find our way back to the winner's circle.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll open up for questions now. If you would use the hand raise feature, please, and we'll call on you. We'll start with Jim Sumner. Jim, go ahead, please.
Hey, David. You went up tempo a lot today, which makes sense against the Virginia Tech defense. And when it worked, it was very effective. But when it doesn't work, you're sending your defense back on the field pretty quickly. Duke's losing time of possession, battling every game by pretty decisive margins. How do you kind of balance those two imperatives?
Well, it is a great question, and it stays on my mind all the time. Certainly you prefer to make first downs, to stay on the field. One of the things that I felt like was key in this game today was the very thing you said, was to win the battle of first downs. Our offense, if we win first down, then you've got a great opportunity to convert and stay on the field. Defensively, it's vice versa, obviously. And we didn't do that well enough. When we get going offensively, I think tempo can help us take it down the field and score. But you're exactly right, and I checked, during the game a couple of times with folks upstairs, kind of the number of snaps, thinking about that the entire time. So that's just one of the processes that we have to continue to look at. If you're a high-tempo offensive team, you got to be a good first down team, and you have to find a way to stay on the field and keep your defense off the field.
I will go to Mr. Pydell.
Coach Cutcliffe, sorry for the tough loss tonight. What do you guys got to do if you're 0-4? Have you ever been in an 0-4 situation before in your coaching career, and do you have anything to get yourself to go back to the drawing board and start over?
I have not been 0-4 as a head coach, but I was 0-6 at Tennessee as an assistant, and it wasn't much fun. What can happen from it if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to work? We went from 0-6 to 5-6, and the very next year to 11-1. I will never forget those lessons. One of the things you have to do is to be a great teammate. You have to be true to each other. You can't start thinking, well, what if such and such did this? And so I've had experience when you've coached as long as I have. And I think the biggest thing is us pulling together is the only possible path. And we have enough playmakers to find a way to win football games. It's the most unique time in the history of college football. We all know that. It's the most unique time in my career. So I don't know, exactly what you have to do step by step. We're learning because it's different what we're dealing with. What I do know, is you have to fight, and you have to fight together. So I'm anxious to see how many great teammates we have on this team, and I believe in my heart it will be everyone.
All right, next, Tom Shanahan. All right, Tom, we can't hear you. We'll go to Cam Polo next. Looks like Tom having some audio trouble. Cam, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned obviously with the up-tempo offense, keeping the offense on the field and the defense off it, and obviously Virginia Tech had a lot more offense in the second half. Do you think fatigue of the defense played a role in that, and how can you fix that, keeping the up-tempo offense going forward?
Well, again, if you're going to be up tempo, you got to play well on first down. You can't have penalties. You can't have long yardage situations. That repairs keeping the offense on the field. If we can't stay on the field, then you have to look at other methods as far as running clock. But the concerns I have, period, for our team, we have not got as many players available as what we've had in years past. These players hadn't had the same circumstance in years past. So do I think fatigue and conditioning can play a role? Absolutely. I think it's affected us in the kicking game. I think it's affected us on both sides of the ball. What we do is we try to practice at a level to where you're conditioning every drill and everything, and every minute we're on that practice field. So you hopefully that continues. But yeah, that's a concern. It's not an easy one to repair other than getting better on offense to stay on the field and understand you can't turn it over and you got to make first downs. And the best way to make first downs are avoid penalties and lost yardage plays. And we had way too many of those tonight. You can't give up sacks because sacks are a loss of down and yards. So the formula is there to win games, but you have to build that momentum into that kind of team that gets that accomplished.
Tom, are you able to ask a question? No. All right, Chip, go ahead.
Coach, Chase Bryce was talking about keeping the eyes straight ahead, keep believing, keep working. Does that become harder and harder each game when you lose games? You don't see that reward at the end of the game?
Well, I think it's always harder when you lose. And you're in a losing streak. If you're in a slump, you have to deal with the negativity that comes into your mind. You wake up and you can't believe it's happening to you. And again, the best way to deal with that is not independently. The best way for us to keep striving and working at the most difficult times is to help each other. We all need each other right now. And more than ever, this is when you need to be a great teammate. And so tomorrow afternoon, it's difficult, but tomorrow afternoon, our football team will practice well. And by the time we hit the practice field Tuesday morning, we will prepare with an intensity to go to Syracuse and play as well as we possibly can to win a game. And I believe that about these young people. We have special young people. This is a special place. And we've got a great opportunity to learn from a very difficult time. And I don't want to waste it. I want to learn from it. And I want to rally together. And there's a lot of value in that rallying together. And I believe that we can do that, and we will do that.
All right, last question. Go to Charlie Mickens. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, Coach, Herbert for Virginia Tech had over 200 yards rushing, and Burmeister, he had a couple of touchdowns too, rushing and everything. How difficult was it, even with Virginia Tech with 21 guys out, how difficult was it to contain that running game they had tonight?
Well, Virginia Tech's a good running football team. They do a lot of +1 running with a quarterback. I felt like in the second half we did get a little fatigued, didn't tackle as well. They're going to run the football. They did it all last year, the second half of the season. You know they're going to run the football, but they got that big, experienced offensive line. So it's a lot tougher to do than it is to say that you're going to stop it. But the biggest way is to try to stop it before it gets started. And, you know, they got to our edges a little too easily, and then they hit some vertical seams. And so the big explosive plays were a big part of where the yardage came from.